Aloha guys, welcome to another After Effects tutorial. My name is Jayla Scanlon, and in today's tutorial we are going to look into the camera layer and 3D space. So we're going to get out of the boring 2D world and we're going to jump right into this 3D aspect of After Effects, which is very important, and I'll show you why in this tutorial. So we're going to get started by clicking on the composition button to create a new composition. I have set it to HD TV. It's usually set to NTSC DV, but I like my videos to be in HD quality. We have our full resolution, 29.97 frames, and I'm going to call this typography. This is going to be for our assignment that's coming up with Project 2. Our duration is 30 seconds and we want to hit OK. So now we have our composition stage, and the first thing we want to do is we want to add some text. And so you can just click on the text button at the top and let's write something. How about, since it's coming up, Merry, write another one, Christmas, and then guys. Sure. So we have our three text layers. As you can see, they're at the bottom right here. And as you've noticed, we have just barely, just 2D space is just left, right, up, and down. That's all you can do with this text. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to show you that there's a lot more that you can do, especially when entering our next project of our typography. You will want to learn about this 3D layer, 3D space, sorry, and our camera layer. First thing we want to do is we want to, if you just hover over this little box, it says we're going to create these elements and make them 3D. So if you click, hold, and drag them down, we have now created 3D space for these this different text. And as you can see, there's a new tool right here on each text. And you have Y space, you have the X space, and you have the Z space. So Y and X is what we're already used to, which is in 2D, which moves, it moves our elements up or down, left or right. But now we have Z space, which allows us to move in and out of our 3D world now. But we still have to add our camera, because the camera will recognize these text as 3D images or 3D elements. And so just to note that you need to make all your elements 3D before you add your camera layer. So let's go ahead and go to new and camera layer. And now we've got a lot of different settings right here. We want to just stick to our 35mm, keep it at the preset, and click OK. And now that we have our camera, we can now start playing around with our 3D world. So the first thing we want to do to show this is let's select one of these texts and let us play with the Z. If you move it left, you can actually see that it looks like it's scaling up and it's becoming bigger, but in actuality it's actually moving in front of these two texts. So if we were to move the camera in any way, you would see the difference. So let's keep Christmas where it's at, and then Merry, we will want to move that kind of in the distance. And like I said, it looks like it's scaling down or scaling up, but it's not, and I'll show you what happens. Now that we have our camera, we can now go to our camera tool, just up at the top up here, and if you keep clicking on it, or if you hold down on it, you will see all the different tracking tools for your camera. But as you can see, there's also a keyboard shortcut which I like to use. So if we go on the camera, we have C. If you click and hold, this is the orbit tool, which allows you to orbit within 3D space. And as you can see now, we have, wow, that's kind of perfect alignment. Wow, I'm really telling it. Anyways, because we can now rotate, we can see how our text is not just in plain 2D, and it's not that one is bigger and one is smaller. It's actually in 3D space. And now we can orbit with the orbit tool. If you hit C again, we can actually move this camera's position in different ways. Remember that once we go through with all these cameras, you can also camera the position and rotation of your camera, so you can make an animation. And we can probably look into that just a little bit in this tutorial. Let's hit C, and now we have our zoom in and zoom out. We can track forward, track and track backwards. So if we wanted to, let's go to the camera and click on the drop down box, and we can actually reset the camera to where it was before. And we can also start our animation. So now that we have our text in the 3D world, we can now click on position, remember by hitting P on the keyboard, and we can actually click on the stopwatch to start a animation. If we move to maybe 2.17 seconds, you can kind of see on the side over here 2.17, and then if we tracked forward just a little bit, and then if we moved it a few more, you can track forward. As you can see, we've set some keyframes just on the bottom here, so it's actually going to have some movement. And what we want to do with this same keyframe is if we hit C, and we can bring up, we can position it so that it's in the middle, and then you can move this forward, and then let's zoom in a little bit more with the track in, and then on that same layer let's orbit it and make it kind of rotate around, and then let's move it kind of. Okay, so let's see what we came up with. So if we hit space to preview it, you can actually see that the camera is moving, and it's moving forward. It's starting to do some tilting. It's starting to it's starting to show that we are in a 3D world, and we've jumped out of this boring 2D type animation where it's just left, right, up and down. And so let's wait for this to render out, and then we will go back to the beginning and play it back. Actually, let's click on the render preview and see what it does. So alright, so that's pretty much it. Now we've seen a little animation and what you can do. So instead of text, you can have pictures. You have a lot of different things. If you've looked on YouTube, you can see the power of After Effects and how you can use 3D space to make things look very dynamic. So that's it for this tutorial. Just one quick thing. Remember, with text and with images, especially text, if you're going to have a camera movement that zooms in pretty quickly, if we were to just move this in just a little bit, if we had the zoom kind of move in pretty quick, actually let's make it a bit quicker, and then say you added motion blur, then if we preview that back, you may be able to see just a bit of blur, depending on how fast it is. Okay, that wasn't fast enough, but you get the idea. If we make it really quick to cause it to blur, you can kind of see that it blurred a little bit. And so, play around with it. You now have the power in your hands to create whatever you want within this 3D universe. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and feel free to ask me any questions if you need to. And this is Jayla Scanlon, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.